Hello everybody, my name is SimmingInOz. Welcome to Malfoy Manor. Man alive, I'm so glad this is done. It's been in the works for about a month, and God, that month was just dragging on and on and on and on. I just could not defeat this beast. She was just so ambitious, and I thought, no, I should be able to knock out Malfoy Manor within a decent time frame. And then I started, and then it just kept going on and on and on and on. Oh man, she was a pain in the ass. Oh, but she turned out so pretty, so she makes up for it. So we're jumping in and we're doing big, we're doing moody, we're doing very Malfoy, fancy, no organic kind of greenery anywhere. It's all very structured and it's a very fancy, very expensive, bit gaudy and just very Malfoy. So I jumped in and I decided to start off real simple and go for the front fence, because the front fence is like basically the facade. It's the first thing you see of the property. It gives you a sense of what these people who live here are about, and you know, gives you an insider indication in which of what their tastes are, and if they're a friendly, approachable sort. They're not. They are so not. So the Malfoys live in this very big property. It's a 50 by 40 lot. And it's rounded by this very massive, very gothic style fence. I wanted to do my own custom fence because I just find the fences in the game are okay. But if you want to go for something that's got like gravitas, that's got castle-esque, you are going to have to crane your neck to look into this place kind of deal, then you really have to go for your own sort of custom fence. So we rounded out the property by doing this fence that was really tall and thick, and it's got like little guard watchtowers on every corner, and there's obviously a gatehouse when you first approach it. So it's got this beautiful sort of drawbridge effect, and it's got this beautiful roof and everything, and it sort of sets the tone on what the rest of the property is going to look like. At this point, I didn't quite know. I'd done a few tests, I'd done some fiddling about with what I wanted it to look like, and I sort of had an idea on what decorations I was going to be using, but at this point I was really just going with it. I'm like, all right, just put something down and see how it goes. And then I just started doing the basic same brick I used with Hogwarts, and then I've got these really lovely stone gothic pillars from the vampire pack, and then the windows of the vampire pack came in here, and the roof sort of curved slightly, and we had those roofing decorations, and it was just add to it. And there was no big variation in color, though it's very textured. There's a lot going on, and it sort of just jumps out at you, and it's eye-searing actually. By the end of this build, I was like, it hurt me to look at the outside of this build just because it was so busy, but it was a very calculated sort of fancy busy that I was like, I can live with this, but I don't ever want to see it again. Because it was just so fancy and busy and gothic, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm exhausted. Well and truly, the Malfoys have rounded out my desire to build mansions in the Gothic style. Like, this was a behemoth to do, and I was like, by the end, I was like, I want to go and build some modern properties. I want to go build something with colour and light that's a bit cheerful. I was so depressed by the end of this. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do today? Build another very depressing room? And it really just went like that. But honestly, honest to God, it was just like a process of, I need this house to be as detailed and as big as possible, because it started out as I was just going to move the Malfoys into this house. Literally, it was Lucius, Narcissa, Draco, and Dobby, and that was going to be it. That's all the people that were going to live here. And then the Harry Potter save just went on and on and on, and I decided, oh no, I'm actually running out of room to fit all my Death Eaters in. I'd fit in all the good light people and all the vital characters, but I love me some Death Eaters. And I was like, where am I going to put them all? Because I'm running out of space, and I can't give them each a massive manor house, because that would literally kill me. So I'm like, oh boy. So at first I was sort of like, okay, maybe Crabbe and Goyle could live at Malfoy Manor. We could have that. Yeah. And then I made the Death Eaters in Cass, and I'm like, oh no, we got to do Fenrir Greyback. We've also got to do Bella, and then her husband, and then his brother. And then we can't forget Buddy Crouch either. And then we've got to do Pansy, and then we've got to go do Anton Dolohov, and it just kept going on and on and on. And by the end, I'm like, this isn't a house. This is a Death Eater clubhouse. And it did. It literally turned from a residential property meant for 3 people max and a house elf in the dungeon to multiple people live in this property. It's a rental property now, and they just all fit into this one big piece of land. I don't know how it's going to play, but it is like taking up multiple levels. And then by the end, I was just like, you know what? We've got the whole Death Eater gang here. I might as well just add in a throne room for the Dark Lord when he comes over to hang out and play cards. So I'm like, all right, here we go. So I added in a dungeon and a throne room at the end. And oh my God, I think this build all up took me about, God, I can't even say. It stretched out to over a month. Definitely, because I was really procrastinating by the end. The exterior and doing the floor plan really killed me. And I'm like, all right, I had to really psych myself up for days to sort of get into it because it was just so big and ambitious. And then really it just dragged on and on and on. But I was so happy with how it was turning out. But it was really draining. Like I was tired by the end of this and crawling by those last few bits. I think on average, it was almost rivaling the amount of time I spent on Hogwarts. Like Hogwarts was big, and that was another big project that really took the creativity out of me, and it felt similar to this. But with this is like just it's one house. It shouldn't be like this. But yet I wouldn't regret it because this is exactly what the Malfoy family needed. It needed to be grand and it needed to be big. So back to the video, what we're doing is we've got our fence down. You can obviously see the fence is very dark academia moody, kind of busy. And then I wanted to do this really big gatehouse. So I had ambitions for this gatehouse. At first it was just going to be a simple bridge and I wanted there to be water on this property. I felt like the Malfoys, oh my God, they would be the kind of people who would have water features on their property. Not like a nice little fountain that the Longbottoms have, but like a lake. They obviously have a lake. So, and I also wanted it to be a little bit reminiscent of Hogwarts in that there's this really grand entrance. It goes over rocks and water and there's a bridge. And then I got onto the idea of some kind of drawbridge. So at first I was really just simple about it. And then by the end I got quite creative about it and I just went, okay, well, I know what we can do here. We can do a few bit things. And I wanted to create the idea that this drawbridge was set into the property very, very long ago when the manor was maybe first built back in the olden days. And that the wizards who lived here, maybe they got it off muggles, maybe they built it special for wizards, and then they sort of created it with the idea that they would need to defend themselves at one point. So maybe they were defending themselves from the muggles like Hogwarts did, or, you know, some other reason, other wizards, other light wizards, who knows? It's the Malfoys. So they're a mixed bunch. So I liked the idea that the home itself was defensible. It had built-in defenses that were already established as part of the property, and then time went on and, you know, things changed and then their fortunes changed. Maybe the house changed hands for a little bit and then the Malfoys maybe bought it or inherited it a long time ago. And it's just sort of stayed that way because I doubt they would have changed much. Like, they're not in the process of modernizing, no way in heck. So maybe they've redecorated it quite a bit, but that drawbridge has sort of stayed there. So as I'm going through, I wanted to pop in a lot of rock in this scenario because there's nothing I hate more than that brown wall that using terrain tools actually gives you, because it's like, oh, it's so ugly and they won't let me paint it, so I need to cover it. So I cover it with some stone and some greenery, the only way I know how. And then we start by popping in the water feature, and it's sort of, you know, just, I wanted, for the landscaping of this property, it's a big balancing act between it looks really fancy and it's well manicured, but it is in no way organic. It's all very structured. There's not like a leaf that has grown on this property that wasn't intentionally grown and meant to be there. If, you know, like a weed popped up, the elves would be all onto it. No, sir, that's not happening here. This is not that kind of family. So it's a big duality between a lot of my other properties in that this is very manicured. And the Longbottoms, who are just across the way, have this very big house, who it's just obviously they've got this beautiful forest at the front of their property, whereas the Malfoys, they're out here with this drawbridge fortress over here with a very well manicured lawn. Everything's structured and it's all very cold. I went in with this brown brick very early on and I actually changed it a long way in. I knew I wanted to do black accents for all the railings and the stairs, but I do go in and I make the ground grey because I just felt like this beautiful brown that I'd been working with right here, it was too beautiful, it was too warm, and I just wanted to take it back just a little bit towards something a bit colder, something a bit more prideful and snooty and everything. So we do that, and I think it turned out quite well. And as for the greenery, very minimal, like rose bushes, some manicured hedges, but nothing that's, going to be too, free-flowing, if you will. And a lot of gargoyles, actually. There's a ridiculous amount of gargoyles in this build. And I feel like they got more gargoyles than actually Hogwarts did. So well done, Malfoys. You proved yourself the best and just the gaudiest, honestly. I think I actually, looking back on it now that the build is done, I'm very, very sure I forgot to put in a mailbox. So that's going to be somewhere. It'll just have to be a surprise for anyone who wants to download it. You'll have to pop one in yourself and then track down the original because God knows where the Sims game has decided to put this thing. Oh man. So yeah, good luck with that. That's my bad. I do apologize. Now, we're basically getting the nice shape of the property now. So what I wanted was you have the property and it's meant to be in sort of like, it started out as an L shape. And then by the end, it was a big U shape because I decided I was a bit more ambitious than what I had initially thought. And I wanted added into a ballroom and as well as have like a really manicured lawn. So that does bring the property over a little bit more. But a few things do change within the course of this build. But for now, we're doing the basic building blocks. But for the basic things, I wanted it to have a feeling of medieval architecture, very, very, very tall, almost like it's looming over you. If the Black family had a mansion, it would almost look exactly like the Malfoys. Maybe the Malfoys are a bit gaudier, I suppose. Like they're not here having elf heads out mounted on their walls or anything. They're a bit more fancy, if you will. Whereas the Blacks are more rooted in traditional architecture. So there is a fine balance here. But as you can see, I'm going through and I'm just continuing the wall. I'm not going to show you the whole building of the wall because you've already seen what it takes to make the front. And then I'm just going to go off camera and just add in the rest because you don't need that over and over and over again. And then as we go through, I wanted there to be a nice lawn because as you know, there's meant to be like albino peacocks. So I do put in like one peacock statue just because the lawn, which is the lawn right there, it does sort of change shape and does get a little bit smaller because, I had to add in a lot of stuff and that ballroom was really ambitious. So yeah, but I'm really glad I was able to give them some kind of outdoor activity area. And then as for the building itself, it was meant to be really big. Like I also wanted there to be a stables, and I do build a stables in, and I wanted there to be multiple levels, a guest level for the guest rooms. I wanted the family's main residence to be away from all of their guest suites just because I knew at this point that there was going to have to be multiple families in this property, and I didn't want, say, Fenrir Greyback to have a bedroom right next to Lucius and Narcissa. That would be ridiculous. So there is a master suite and, the heir suite and everything. Very much separated from where all of the guests of the property would actually stay. And then I like the idea that I put this outdoor lawn area near the ballroom. The ballroom is going to be on the top right of this property. Right now it just looks like a big brown courtyard to you, but it actually leads off into this lawn and it's really pretty and I really liked how it turned out. I like the idea that the Malfoys throw balls, and if you enter their property, you go in the main foyer, you turn right and there's a formal dining room, which leads onto the ballroom, which leads onto the outdoor lawn, and it's just all sort of very public spaces, and I do like that flow. And then you can go into living room and everything, but a lot of thought was put into the layout of this actual property and making it make sense, because I did want it to make sense, and I'm really passionate about that dining room as well, because we all know what dining room I'm talking about. It's the dining room we see in the movies where, they're all having their Death Eater meetings and everything, and it was really important that I sort of brought that back, so I wanted the dining room to be very accessible. Here I am doing the drawbridge. Isn't she pretty? It's basically a roof piece. I take out a big chunk through the middle that makes it look like there's meant to be a drawbridge there, and then I actually do a roof piece that's meant to be the bit that goes down. I put some wheels on it and I put some poles on it. At first it wasn't functional. People actually just could not walk to the side of it like I was meant them to, so I did have to extend it out one aisle, but it still looks the same. It's still very functional, very fancy. If you want to take the drawbridge away and just fill it in, please go forth. I don't mind if people edit my builds, honestly. But yeah, I was really proud of this bit. I was like, oh my god, we're expanding the creativity, we're trying something new, and live edit objects are just always fun to play with. So yeah. But yeah, the outdoor area was, it was a mission and a half, and by this point I'm like, I'm glad I've started the build, but I'm about 10 hours in and I haven't even started the floor plan or the 8 stories that this property is going to end up being. So by that point I was really, really nervous. But here we are starting the floor plan. I remember I did the exterior of this build, like I did the lawns and everything up until what you've seen at this point, and then I stopped for like a week because I was so intimidated by the idea of doing the floor plan and the exterior, because I got one shot at it, and if I screwed it up, that was it. There was no going back. I'd just have to see it through and it wouldn't make sense and it would kill me in the long run because I'm a perfectionist. But thankfully, I did get something that I was quite proud of, and it just all sort of worked out in the end. So I really need to trust myself more, but man, it was a journey and a half. But yeah, no, she turned out pretty. She turned out pretty. Eye searing, and I'd never never stay there myself, my god, but you do not want to find yourself at Malfoy Manor. But it was fun. It was fun. As for the architecture of the buildings itself, I wanted a lot of towers. I knew I was going to go crazy with the roofing decoration, so really I just needed to get the basic shapes down, and I always struggle with floor plans. If you've watched any of my videos before this point, you will know floor plans ain't my thing. They're not. No. But, I tried my best, and it took me a few tries. I had to come back to it and go, all right, what's wrong with it, and then fix it. But yeah, basically I just went, Jesus, take the wheel, and we got there. Yeah, we got there. Happy days. Man, this was really long. I've got to stop saying it. I'm sorry. It just took so long. I'm pretty sure it was something like 30 hours, maybe? Something along the lines of the Hogwarts build. Yeah, but really long time. But very happy with how it turned out. My basic principle for doing the floor plan and the exterior and the house itself was, okay, do a shape, decorate it, and then add to it. So there was real no plan for, what was going to go here, here, and here. I basically just went, just make a medieval castle. You could do that. I can't. It was like, oh man, I was terrible. But no, it's all good. It's all good. We got there. So it was about at this point that I was feeling a lot better about the build itself. Like, I'd established a theme, I'd established a art direction that I wanted to take, and I'd picked out some nice objects for the roof and everything, and I basically just had to go, okay, create this, but that way. So it's a little insight into what my mind thinks when I'm trying to build something, just because I'm just so inept. And when in doubt, just add more to it. If it doesn't look right, just fill in all the gaps and she'll be right. She'll be right. So yeah, that's basically me in decorating. I'm a lot more better at interiors than I am with exteriors. Exteriors are always going to be a trial for me, but I feel like I am getting better at them, which is a nice thing to say after all this time. I feel like I have really improved. But man. So anyway, we've got the basic theme down going, and as you can see, it's all very structured and dark and everything, and it's busy. It's so busy. Like, you look at this, although I have to admit, my favorite part of these builds is doing roofs. Not so much putting down the roofs itself, but decorating roofs with all the little decorations and everything, because then I can just go, yeah, chimney here, metal thing here, a little bit of extra roof here, and it just fills in all those gaps, and I'm just like, oh, I love a really nice roof. And I think just putting down those metal things that go on the top arches of roofs are basically my favorite things ever. I love those. I wish properties these days would just use them more. These days, you are not ever going to see anything like this. So I like to harken back to a time where we actually cared about finer details on homes. These days, it's all just sort of modern places and everything. Not that I don't like modern stuff. I do. I think it definitely has its place. But man, I love looking back at just like, you know, really beautiful traditional builds and just going, man, the craftsmanship and the architecture was just bred into the DNA of this place. And it gives it a lot of history, which I really liked. And I wanted there to be a lot of history for the Malfoy Manor. Like, you could look at this property and think to yourself, this has been here a very long time. It's maybe been extended to, maybe that bit here is an extension that was built maybe 100 years after the original property was built. I like adding in history to my builds. Although the one thing I didn't add to the build of the Malfoy Manor was a crypt. They don't have a family crypt. Don't know why. I've actually forgot, but I've added in basically everything else. But I do like the idea that, you know, it's the ancestral home of the Malfoys, and I feel like the Malfoys weren't always a part of, you know, the everything. I feel like they had their roots in France, unless I'm confusing this again with fan fiction Harry Potter, which is a very common mistake with me. It's all very much same in my head. One is like the other. There's no canon. It's all just everything I've learned about Harry Potter, and that's that. So yeah, I can't tell the difference between canon and fanon anymore. I'm so sorry. You're just going to have to put up with it. But yeah, loving how the property turned out. At this point, I was so relieved. I'm like, oh, thank God. Now I just have to pray I gave myself enough room to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And I did, which I was very grateful for. But there are some funny shaped rooms in this build, and you'll see them down the line. But yeah, I was actually quite proud of this bit right here, this bit that goes out into this L shape. I thought it was so stunning. I was really aiming for something that was cathedral-esque, and I think I nailed it. And that's always a good thing. It's always a nice feeling when you look back on something and go, yep, that's exactly what I wanted to do, and I did it. Thank goodness. But yeah, no, it was just a lot of flapping about and going, all right, how to make this more grand, more busy, and just go from there. But yeah, I don't think any of the manor is meant to look comfortable in terms of, you know, relaxation for its occupants. It's all very stiff and sort of just there. It's not anywhere you'd want to visit. It's sort of like, oh, this is fancy. It's not comfortable fancy, but it's fancy. So that's exactly what I was going for. And happy days, we did it. I, at this point, was just like, all right, just don't worry about giving them any outdoor spaces or anything. They have some balconies. They have a lawn that's incredibly manicured to death. That'll do them. That'll do them. And I also can't believe I added in a stables. Like, where did I get a stables from? Because I don't know if this is canon. I forget. I forget so much. But I'm pretty sure Lucius Malfoy has like a hobby with like, oh, what are they called? Abraxans? No. I don't know what they're called. They're basically magic horses. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. If you've read Harry Potter fan fiction, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I feel like Lucius Malfoy has a hobby with magical horses. So I wanted to add in magical horses, so I added in a stables. And I can't believe I did it. Like, it's got a proper door and everything, so you can technically have horses. But I didn't want to make horses and add them to the household because I've always felt it looked a bit funny when you've got a family within The Sims 4 and you've got their family photo and then there's just this massive horse in the background and it's like, oh, okay, I guess so. And then it just sort of ruins the effect of the Malfoy family and their horse and their house elf. So yeah, but no, she turned out fun. I'm really glad, but she's so pretty. But no, this video is 2 hours long, by the way, so I will come in and out with my comments. I'm not going to talk for the whole 2 hours. I cannot do that. It's almost 2.5 actually. So yeah, I'm not going to talk the whole time, but I will come in when I've got something interesting to say. But otherwise, you can feel free to just have this on in the background or just have it, you know, give it a watch. And if you want to see my process, I basically show everything. I cut out very little. I also made the speed of my builds a bit slower. I don't know if you can tell. It doesn't feel like it right now because I'm jumping all over the place really quickly when I'm in the zone, but I did go out of my way to make my speed videos a bit slower, just so people don't feel as sick when they watch them, because I know I had that feedback. So I hope it's a little bit slower. Let me know if I need to be slower, but honestly, I don't know how slow I can be because there's so much to this build and I didn't want anyone to miss a thing. So, you know, good luck, have fun. I'll see you in a bit. Alrighty, now we come to what was the most important part within the interior of this build. I had a lot of ambition going into building the main stairwell and the foyer of this property because I wanted them to be very particular. I was going for cathedral-esque, same as the outside, but a lighter tone cathedral-esque. I didn't want it to be depressing dark. So what I did was I basically chose the cream-colored stone that you get with the castle pack, and I wanted to replicate that all throughout. I wanted, think Notre Dame almost, with lots of statues, lots of pillars, and I wanted it to be grand, double story, very beautiful, and I wanted all the walls to be filled in as well. So it was just a long time of me just going, okay, just pop in the stairs, see how it goes, and it's one of those rare builds where I don't actually have the stairs opposite the front door. It's in an L shape. I just hit my keyboard, sorry. So it's in an L shape, and basically you go through the front door and you're in the main foyer, and there's no stairs up in the main foyer. There's basically just a little antechamber. You move in, you go to the left, and then you have the main stairwell. So it's a little bit different from what I'd usually do, but glad I made the change because there was no way I was going to fit this grand staircase if I went opposite the front door. That was just not going to happen. So very glad I went with this way. I am a big fan of little hallways that you can step into. So a difference in variation of the levels, and then a lot of stonework. And I'd like it if, obviously the main area of the stairwell is all stone and everything, but at some point I introduced this very beautiful wood tone. It's very prevalent in the hallways surrounding the stone area, and it just sort of blends in very beautifully with each other, and that woodwork extends beyond into the hallways and bedrooms and rooms of the actual house. That wood tone is the main theme. However, occasionally you will always come back to this beautiful stonework, sort of cream cathedral style that is prevalent within this main stairwell. So there's two sorts of themes, you could say, for the Malfoy Manor. There's woodwork and there's stonework, and they're very complementary to one another, and it's very themed, and you will see that all throughout the house. You will see a lot of the same objects, the same styles. It's a running theme, and I think it turned out so lovely. But right now I'm just going through and I'm making sure that this sort of view from the second story is absolutely stunning. I really wanted an area for family portraits, so I kept that back wall really clear and ready for some Malfoy family portraits, and I think it turned out so fun. And I knew that lighting was going to be a big aspect of this, and I really liked how I handled lighting within this build. I basically took one of those wall shelves that was very gothic and pretty, that's in the stone colour and a wood colour, and I basically just put candlesticks onto that shelf. You will see me do it a million times within this build, but that's basically the main theme of how they get lighting in the build. They also have candlestick chandeliers. It does give the whole build the yellowish tinge that having candles does give it. Unfortunately, there's two types of lighting. There's electric lighting and there's candle lighting, and they couldn't have electric because it's too bright, but it is pretty. It does light very effectively, whereas candlelight is very obviously candlelight. So compromises were made. There's no electricity in this house, but man, there's a lot of candles. It's really distracting. I wanted it to be also a little bit experimental. This was right when the tattoo pack came out. Not the tattoo pack, the businesses and hobbies pack. It was right out there, like it had just come out. Instead of making, businesses and hobbies, I was over here making Malfoy Manor. But I'm just like, ooh, the new statue. So I decided to incorporate it into my foyer, because I liked the idea of it's so cathedral-like, and the walls and the pillars are so built into this main foyer that they've just basically just carved out figures into the walls of this place. So it's so fancy that it's basically an artwork. What I'd really love, though, is if they could give us some roof tiling that was, not roof tiling, but the tiles that go on the underside of roofs. So if you were in a room and looked up at the ceiling, it could have like a mural, and it would be really beautiful. We've got sky murals, which is something I'm really grateful for, but I'd love some cherubs or something that would just go so well, or even like a world map tile or something. Just think Beauty and the Beast. You know how he's got his ballroom and that's got the ceiling with all the naked babies and everything? I want that. Please give me that, because I don't use custom content. I can only give what you give us, EA. So please, 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 please. Please and thank you. So moving on, you basically see I've got a very, very built-in, very particular theme going on, and I'm just playing with the statues. I was afraid that the statues were a bit too much, but then at some point I'm just like, no, there's no such thing as too much. Stop that. You're being silly. So, yeah. And another thing I really loved about this build was the floor. I'm going to be doing the floor soon, and I chose a very particular floor. It's busy, but I think it's quite perfect. And I loved how I did the lighting. I'm trying something a bit new. I started this out in Longbottom Manor, but I wanted to continue it on in so many of my builds. It's where I take a staircase and I actually put flowers or a candlestick on the bits of the staircase that you can put them on, like I'm doing right now, because it just adds a little bit of a personal touch. It's like this room has been decorated. It's not just a staircase, it's a decorated staircase. So yeah, it's all very intentional. It's all very, built in and everything, and very just old and beautiful and stunning, and I'm so happy with it, honestly. But yeah, thank goodness for the castle pack, because that thing is my lifeblood, honestly. But I also wanted fireplaces within the main foyer, because again, I'm referencing fan fiction here, I do apologize, but if you've ever read like Harry Potter fan fiction and everything, you know that there's always like a fireplace within the foyer or close to the foyer, so people can, you know, flue in and out of residences. So I'd like to think that these two fireplaces are the public flue fireplaces that they would use if they were not physically walking in and out of the property. So they had to be in a public place and they had to sort of make sense in placement wise. So I do go through and I do put them in the foyer. I also make sure I put dust coming out of those fireplaces. It's the only part of the mansion really that's unclean, apart from maybe the dungeons and the kitchens and Dobby's room. The rest is super clean and fancy. I didn't want to have any aging on the residence. There's not any areas where it just looks like it's crumbling away. It's all very pristine, very rich. It would have given it more character, I suppose, to give it, you know, some cracks and some bits where the paneling or something is chipping away, but it just didn't feel right because this is the Malfoys. They're not going to have anything less. They have balls here. They have parties and they host Dark Lords. They're not putting their worst foot forward. They're putting their best manicured, heeled, dragon hide boots forward. Very much so. As you can see, the flooring is down. It's loud, it's busy, it's very rich and fancy. Like, I imagine there's like gold in that inlay of that tile. And it's beautiful. I love it so much. It's like my new favorite thing ever. And I'm really glad I discovered it for the Malfoy Manor build because it's something different and unique to their manor. It's different from, I suppose, what I did with the Longbottom Manor and Hogwarts. So yeah, they do get that very ornate style to their manor, which I really love. One thing I did do as an exception for this build was I made sure that I popped in some custom paintings. It's not custom content, it's from the gallery. That's the only exception I really give to myself in terms of putting in anything that's not, you know, like vanilla Sims. So I do put in a lot of custom paintings that I got off the gallery. I basically just searched up medieval, Harry Potter, and went forth. But, you know, it was really fun. And I was able to use it in some really fun ways and just add such character to the house because there's not enough old paintings within The Sims 4. I'm very passionate about this. It's same. Like, you put down the basic 10 old-fashioned paintings that we've got that are really nice, and then you've got a whole other manor house to do, and it's like I'm gonna double up here. But, you know, we do what we can. But yeah, loving how this foyer and stairwell turned out. Super proud of it. Probably my best foyer that I've ever done, but until I do something else. But yeah, really pretty. I loved it. Alrighty, now we are coming to a very important room, which is the dining room. And you know what? It's a bit too small for me. I really wish it was a little bit bigger because in the movie it is quite a drafty, tall, dramatic room. And, you know, needs must though in The Sims. I was like, I couldn't go too much. But we do have like 2 fireplaces and a very long dining table that's a little bit quite custom actually. I do put in like a lot of chairs and everything, so it can fit a lot of people at this dining table, which is something I really was happy about. Another fun thing I did while I was doing Malfoy Manor was I actually implemented the Death Eater the Death Eater club as an actual thing within the game, within the save. So at this point, I had all my Death Eaters. Hooray, yay! And they finally had somewhere to live. Yaha. So I was just so excited to actually create the club within the save that was called, I did 2 clubs, and they're all leaded by Tom Riddle or Voldemort, same person. And so he's the leader of both clubs. You've got the Death Eaters inner circle and the Death Eaters outer circle, because obviously there's a lot of Death Eaters. I couldn't fit them all in one club. However, I did make the compromise that there are outside members and there are inside members. So you still got that inner circle, outside circle kind of thing, which I thought was really fun. If you want to create a third one for like Misc Death Eaters, go forth, do it. I love that. So yeah, I was really happy with that. So it was really fun just, you know, just ticking that box. I was like, yes, I have a Death Eater club now. But yeah, no. And while I was doing this dining room, I'm like, all right, yes, this is where they'll meet. This is where they'll talk. This is where they'll plot to kill the boy. And it just brings life to my builds and it makes me so happy. So as you'll find out later, you see me putting down all these candles. It's not going to last. Like, something happened within the build and all those candles that I spent so long putting in their correct spots, they get deleted. So I have to go back and I have to put in more candles. But as a fun fact, I'm wasting my time right there. So, but yeah, I didn't want to go too crazy with the dining table. Like, I wanted some candles, I wanted some flowers, and some light pastries and snacks. You know, they've got some Death Eatering to do, so they need to, you know, have some snacks for the road. But it's not like a feast or anything. But yeah, super fun. The chairs were really like dramatic and everything, so I really liked that. And this is just where I start to add in some really beautiful, gorgeous colors into what is honestly quite a dark build unless you're in that main foyer or one of the hallways. All the rooms are super moody and there's a lot of the brown tones and the dark tones and the gold tones, and it's all just really fancy. So I really liked that. It was also important to me that there be 4 dining tables together, or, you know, 6 if I could swing it, but we stuck to 4 because of size reasons. But I didn't want it to be like a dining table that could fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. That's not enough. Needed to be dramatic. I also started doing this thing that you will see so much throughout this build when I spoke about the style of it. My wood rooms, which are basically everything, are backed in wood pillars. The things I do with the lighting, so the little shelf that I do with the candlesticks that I will do with like in every interval that I possibly can. And then I also get out that, it's my favorite thing ever, but it's a wooden panel, and I basically use it as the first half of the wall just to sort of build up the bulk of the room and make it look really inlaid and fancy. And then for a lot of areas, I pop in mirrors above that, as you can see that I'm doing right here. It's basically mirrors that take up the whole of the wall and just fill it in, and it eliminates the wallpaper, but it actually just makes the room look really custom built and expensive. And it also just makes it look a little bit bigger in light of it being a mirror. So as you can see, you get what I'm going for here. I do change up what the mirror is. I go with this one. And it was so nice. And I'm like, I could do this all over. Took me forever, but I was really happy with it. And I'm like, okay, I see what I'm doing here. I see what the theme is. So I basically did that. I do it in a lot of rooms, not every room, but yeah, she was really pretty. Another thing I also wanted to do in this build was I didn't want to neglect my ceilings. So in a lot of rooms, the ceilings are done in a roof tile, but there's also like, oh God, what is it? It's like the beams up top and everything. So there is a lot of beams and everything. I just wanted it to make sure that every single angle of these rooms was fancy and ready to go, and that real artistry had gone into them. So no spot was left unturned, undecorated. It was all so beautiful, and oh my God, it took forever. I'm not going to stop saying that. I'm sorry. But yeah, no. Cool dining room. Loved it. Very happy with it. Alrighty, and now we're moving on to something that took a very, very, very long time, the ballroom. I don't think I've ever actually done a ballroom within the Sims Harry Potter save before. I think this is the only property that actually has a ballroom. I mean, Hogwarts doesn't have one. Oh no. I just remembered the Yule Ball. Oh, you know what? I really prided myself on that my Hogwarts build basically had most of it. Like, it was like 90% minus outdoor things like the Quidditch pitch and everything. But I was really happy that, you know, anything interior that you wanted for Hogwarts you could have. And I've just now realized in this very moment at the very end of the Harry Potter save that I forgot to add in a ballroom to Hogwarts for the Yule Ball. that beautifully snow-crested decorated room for parties and such. Oh, I didn't do it. Damn. All right, well, never mind. It's okay. These things happen. So the Malfoys get a ballroom. And yeah, it's a beast. It's big. It's 4 stories tall and it's got a dome on top of it. Look at it. It's massive. I was actually almost afraid it was too big. Like, if I went out into the neighborhood view, would it be the only thing I saw of this build? It's basically like the Longbottoms and their massive greenhouse. It's massive. But really important to me that it happened, because there was not going to be a Malfoy Manor without a ballroom. Like, these people love to party, and you know what? They were going to have a ballroom. So I took what was meant to be an outdoor courtyard and I converted it into a 4 stories tall ballroom. And basically the theme of the ballroom was I wanted the base to be rectangle, and then I wanted the rest of it to be circular with a glass dome on top with some, pillars and everything, and some towers, and really a lot of roof decoration. It reminds me of like Christian temples and domes and Rome and Prague, and a lot of very old-fashioned but beautifully architectured sort of buildings like that. It harkens back to that. So I wanted it to basically look like a cathedral dome kind of thing. So we've got oh my god, cathedral on the left, cathedral on the right. There's cathedrals everywhere for this build. So I basically went in and I was just like, okay, build a circle and then worry about the rest later. So I went in and I'm just adding. I didn't quite know what I was going to do with the windows, but yeah, you'll see. But it's basically just me adding and just doing what I do with outdoor areas, and just columns, windows, roof decorations, and it turned out so nice. And I was really wasting my time. I was really wasting my time doing this decorating that I'm doing right now, because as soon as I went inside and started decorating, the outside just got morphed because the wallpapers weren't working right, and the windows weren't in the correct position. So I had to decorate outside, go inside, decorate that to perfection, and then come outside and redo all of this and adjust and get it back to factory setting, because The Sims 4 just does not like to play nice with me. But yeah, no, she's really cute. She's really cute. All right, here we are with the inside. Get ready, prepare yourselves, and just get ready for a really eye-searing ballroom. Like, you have no idea what you're about to see, because this ballroom is so hideous, so gaudy. I was really wanting to I wanted gold tones, I wanted reflections, I wanted it to be shiny and expensive and multi-layered. I wanted it to be tall and vast, very Phantom of the Opera, lots of cream tones and stonework and goldwork, and lots of candles everywhere and lots of greenery and everything. And the windows would be tall, and it would go on and on and on and on, and there would be a very grand chandelier and everything. I had ambition for this ballroom. I made it. It works out, but man, as soon as I start putting like the flooring in and the wallpaper and the curtains, I have to blink at it because I'm just like, oh, it's so busy. It's okay, so this lower section is meant to be like the grand entry into the ballroom, and it's one of the few places where people can actually stand. It does have levels, but those levels sort of bracket around this main level. So the dance floor is meant to be at the very bottom, and then you've just got sections upon sections moving upwards. So depending on what you want to do you want to stand around the dance floor? Do you want to find a private corner and smooch? You want to go out on the romantic balcony? Up to you, go forth. And so I just wanted to make it as fancy as possible and also just big. Like you could go for a walk and it would take you forever to get around this ballroom. And I decided that I just wanted it to be very, very big and busy. And she turned out very spectacular. Like it did take me a while to convert it from outdoor to indoor. And then I was just basically like pillar, 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 curtain, 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 candles, decorations. Sort of not actually, in the end, there's not actually that many objects within this ballroom, though it still looks really full, which I suppose is the point because it's meant to be a ballroom. It's not meant to be full of furniture, but it still looks really busy. So I think I was successful in what I did with this room. But man, I think I cut out most of it in this video, but doing the floors, because it's all custom flooring, took forever. I swear to goodness. But she pretty, and that's all that matters. She pretty and she grand, and she was very time consuming, but you know, we love her anyway. We're really proud of her and we love her anyway. But yeah, you can see the theme that I'm going with. I took the theme from the foyer and I extended it out and made it make sense, and she's really pretty, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'm not sure how functional she is. Like she is not technically a dance floor, though I do pop in like a microphone, a piano, a lot of seating, some drinks, I suppose, though there's no buffet table. I forgot that, but you can pop that in. You can do that if you'd like to. But yeah, she's an experience, that's for sure. I would be very interested to see if anyone played this and it's actually, you know, it works on a playthrough kind of level, which I'm always interested in hearing about. But yes, she's fun, she's beautiful, and I'm really glad that I tried to do something different and really, you know, knocked it out of the park. She's so ugly. Alrighty folks, we are now moving into the house proper, and this is where we start to get into less public rooms and more private rooms. I feel like there's a difference between public areas of the Malfoy Manor house, which are very established, and then there are more private rooms like the living rooms and the bathrooms and the libraries and all that kind of thing, and the parlors and everything. So we're starting to move back into more the family section of the house. I do love how this hallway turned out. It's very pretty, and I do love that floor runner in any way I can pop it in somewhere. And it's just basically me establishing the style of the place and just really getting a feel for what the wood tones of the rooms are going to be like. And then we move on to the living room next to it. There are multiple living rooms. I believe there's a lot of living rooms in this property, because I did something fun where I knew that there was going to be multiple families living here. And then I thought to myself, okay, so let's see, there's, hang on, let me count it. Lucius, Narcissa, Draco, Dobby, Bellatrix, Rod, Rad, Barty, Fenrir, Anton, Vincent, Crab, Pansy. 14? Is that 14? Pretty sure it's 14. Okay. I'm pretty sure there's 14 people that live here. And so it was really important to me that none of it felt cramped. So what I wanted to do was, as I was starting out, I was like, okay, a living room. There has to be multiple. So there's a living room on the main section. There's another living room towards the guest quarters. And I did this special thing where, because it's a rental property, a lot of the manor is shared space between everybody. So obviously the library, the living rooms, the foyers, the kitchen, the dungeons and everything, that's all shared space, and a lot of the bathrooms. But if you get into something private like the Malfoy's master bedroom or Draco's room or the master study or something like that, that will be only accessible to the Malfoys. That's part of their residence within the manor. And then you move on and you've got, say, Barty Crouch. Now he is a single person within the manor. I wanted all the extra people that weren't Malfoys to still have spaces that they could have privacy. So when I come to the guest section of this property, I make sure that they don't just get a bedroom. They get a bedroom, they get a bathroom, and they get a lounge room. Apart from the kids, maybe. But I made sure that, they have a section just to themselves. So instead of guest rooms, they're guest suites. And that's very Malfoy-esque. I really think it holds into the theme. So while there are public living rooms, there is also private living rooms that they can really put out their own items and their own possessions and their family photos and everything. And they don't actually live here in canon, but also they have to live here in the Sims. And if anyone wanted to actually play this as a sim, it needed to make sense. So I made sure to give everyone enough space for everything, and everyone have their own little sections, and it worked out really well in the end. However, I do think in a kind of headcanon-y way, it would be a kind of unspoken rule that you are not allowed to have your personal effects in any public area of the house. You keep that stuff in your suite where it belongs, or Narcissa's going to get really annoyed that you're leaving your tennis shoes around. But yeah, no, I really like that idea, and I just felt like it opens up the accessibility of the house. If you just wanted to play Fenrir Greyback within the Malfoy Manor, he's got his bedroom, he's got the shared areas, and if you wanted to visit, say, Bellatrix suites, which you wouldn't, but in the realm of high fantasy, if you did need to go there, he'd have to go knock on her bedroom door and everything, and then, obviously that would load and everything. It just works. It works, and I'm so happy about it. But I did manage to fit in all the Death Eaters into this house, and man, is it a house. But right now, we're just focusing on the living room. As you can see, I'm continuing my theme of wood paneling galore, lots of rugs, lots of wood tones, dark and brown, lots of gold accents, and just basically putting in as much as I can. Now, however, with the decoration of the Malfoy Manor, if you know me, you know that I love clutter, and that stands true for a lot of stuff. However, I actually really tried to hold back on Malfoy Manor, because in my head, Malfoy Manor is very polished and clean. It doesn't quite have clutter, though it still needed to look lived in, so it looks lived in certain specific ways. There's lots of family portraits, there's lots of books that have been put down, there's, just little things that, make it look lived in. However, you're not going to find people's shoes around. You're not going to find people's bags, school bags, clothes, personal effects in these public areas. It's almost like a hotel. It's a hotel. And it needed to reflect that. And I think I towed that line and it worked out quite well. And I also wanted to add in just little hints of green, though that rug, I just can't make it work sometimes. So I was a bit worried that there's too much brown in this build. Like there's a lot of blacks, a lot of browns, a lot of golds. I was really worried that there was too much brown, but I just went for it and hopefully it turned out okay. And I'm hoping that people enjoy it and that it's all right, because I don't have the willpower to go back and fix it. I just had to move forward with what I chose to do because I was crawling, ladies and gentlemen. I was trying really hard, but I can only do so much. But yeah, no, she turned out fun. Loved her. And yeah, she's really sweet. And next we move on to the library. I will say this. The library is not as big as I'd like it to be, as in so many of these rooms are. It's there. It's double story. It's grand. It's very lived in. It's one of the few rooms that's actually considered messy just because of the amount of books that I put in there all over the place. Like it's not structured and put away. So it's really one of the few rooms that's messy, but however, I really wish I could have done bigger. Like it's actually smaller than the Longbottom library, though we don't ever tell the Malfoys that, though I think Augusta Longbottom really finds that funny. So yes, it is a bit smaller than I would have liked, but we move on, we do what we can, as always. All right, now, something to note when it comes to the private areas of the Malfoy Manor. So as you can see, right now we're going through and we're finishing off the library. Beautiful, by the way. But as you can see, I have put in a secret door behind a curtain. I'm hoping that people can, I know for a fact that they can still use the secret doors. They just have to go through the curtain. So there is that secret staircase. No, it's not staircase. Oh God, bookcase. There you go. Jesus Christ, key. Whew. So secret bookcase doors that are hidden behind a secret curtain, and that actually leads into a section of the house that no one can go into except the Malfoys because it's part of their residence. So it's a section that is the master's study. It's got a bathroom and everything. It's really important to me that obviously Lucius Malfoy would not have his private office in a public area of this house. It had to be secret, it had to be stylish, and it had to be gothic. So we do go through and we put that behind a lot of curtains and a lot of secret doors. There is a secret entrance within the top area of the library, so he can exit out that way. There is also 2 secret entrances. There's one through his bathroom, and there's one from the grand staircase in the foyer that you can still go to this. So it's got multiple entries, but they're all secret. And they're part of the Malfoy residence, which I thought was really fun. There needed to be some mystery to this build, and I needed to do that in such a way that, you know, it made sense to the theme. So while there's not secret passages, because I didn't think of that when I was building the property, there are secret doors to secret areas of the house. But this is really the only secret area. They don't have a fortune under the house. They don't have a safe where they keep all their gold. All their gold is at Gringotts. They're not as paranoid as the Black family. So no, there is no secret bank account under the Malfoy Manor. Sure, there might be, some gold lying about and everything, but no, they're not that precious about keeping everything super, super close to the chest. They love to, brag and everything. So here we are doing the master office. It starts out brown. I turn it to black because I'm like, no, you cannot do another brown room. Forbid it. So I do go through and I make everything black. And then I just add in a lot of accents. It's probably the most modern room of the house. I wanted it to be, because it's very masculine, and I wanted it to be masculine. I was originally going to do a little mistress of the house parlor in this room, but I couldn't fit it in. So we do go through and just make it the master study area. He's got a little area for a chessboard and everything. He's got a full bathroom in here because I was like, I need to start adding in some bathrooms because we've got no bathrooms. So yeah, we do add that in, and it's all the bathrooms in this build are going to look the exact same. I found a theme. I liked it. I'm sticking to it. Thank you. Will not be taking questions. But it's so gaudy. Like, look at that tile. Look at those accents. Look at it. It's exactly what I wanted. It's old-fashioned. It's really rich. It's the only area I would probably ever use that particular toilet and bathtub because it's like so rich and fancy. And I do love the shelf I put above the sink. Look at this. And I put like some, shaving cream or lotions or something. Isn't it pretty? But yeah, no, she's fun. But basically all the bathrooms look the same. Some of them have showers, most of them have bathtubs. But yeah, it's very same for the bathrooms, I'm afraid. But as for the study, it's, lots of brown tones. I do put in, that god-awful blanket that's got the bear head on it. And I thought, okay, the one thing the Longbottoms and the Malfoys are going to have in common is that they do have a bearskin rug, because I just feel it's so pure blood-esque that I just had to add it in. So yeah, it was really fun. And of course, Lucius needs an area in front of a fireplace where he can drink scotch and brood. We all have that image in our heads, thank you. So yeah, I needed a place for that. I also wanted, couch area and a bar area, and it's all very spaced out, masculine. This is his sanctuary. This is where he comes to plot his empire and everything. And I think it's really, really fun. I love the idea that the Dark Lord would come up here and commandeer his office, and he just sort of has to slink away and go find somewhere else to be himself. So yeah, definitely Tom Riddle is commandeering this office when he's coming to stay. I don't have a bedroom for Tom Riddle, by the way. No, I don't have one for him. His bedroom is at Riddle Manor in Little Haggleton. I still don't know the name of that place. But yeah, no, he's got his own place. He does not live with the Malfoys, and I just wanted to, stick with the theme. We don't need everybody to live here, but all the Death Eaters live here, and I think that's quite fun. So yeah, it did turn out really cool. Okay, so the master bedroom. Again, not as big as I'd like it, and it's a little bit of a funny shape. I think it's the most funny shaped room of the whole build because it's basically a T intersection. You've got the foyer, you've got a little antechamber, and then you move on to the basic master bedroom because I wanted it to have layers. I wanted there to be, you know, a lot of spaced out kind of thing. I'm continuing with my theme of wood paneling, and the room started out very grey to begin with, and then I move over to black. I'm so sorry. I couldn't bear it. Another thing I struggled with in this build was the windows. The windows don't make much of an impact in this build because they're so small. I'm using the vampire pack windows, and they do make sense on the exterior of this build, but as soon as you go inside and actually look at it, it's like, oh, there's a window. You'll squint and you'll see it. So they're very small. So there had to be a lot of negative space, and I think that's why I introduced such detailed wood paneling with mirrors and paintings and everything, just because typically windows would take up a lot more space, but in this instance they were so small that I sort of had to go, oh my god, there's so much negative space, I have to fill it in somehow. And then we sort of had to consider what the bed was going to look like and everything, so it was a process to figure out what the theme of this room was going to be and then fill in and make it look finished, because it was just, for a while there I was just like, this isn't working, this doesn't look right, it doesn't feel grand enough. And then I sort of cotton onto something and I go, okay, yeah, that's what I was going for. But same bathroom, it does have a dressing room as well, because of course come on, of course they're going to have a dressing room. I don't use these curtains, by the way. But yes, I did give them a nice dressing room and everything because they're very clothes-centered. So yeah, they do have that. And this is where I start just adding in the details of the room. Curtains go in, mirrors go in. There's a whole theme to it. So yeah, we do continue with that. But it's very fun and fanciful. And I'm glad they get this section of the manor that's just theirs. Alrighty, Draco's suite. Honestly, probably better than his parents. it's a lot more grand. Honestly, maybe you could switch it up. You could probably swap Draco's suite with the master suite, just because Draco has a balcony and he has a fireplace and his bathroom's bigger. So you could honestly do it. You could swap it over. If I had to do it again, I'd probably do that. But I'm just now realizing it. So Draco got the top floor of the house. He's hidden away in the attic, though it's certainly no attic. And it was important to me that it be green, because I wanted to lean into his Slytherin pride. So I do think he does bring his school home with him and decorate it accordingly. I do think it was definitely green before he went to Hogwarts, because let's face it, they were not going to accept anything less. And then we're continuing on with our wall paneling theme and just giving it the sort of decoration it deserves, and then just moving on from there. It's not very cluttered as most children's bedrooms would be. He does have the balcony, he does have his little play area, but it's all very structured and grown up kind of thing. Like, he's got the double bed. He doesn't have a single bed. He does have a little dragon plushie, which I put on his bed, and I think it's really cute, but it's not something he'd let get into messiness or anything like that. He wouldn't be careless in this room. I think it would be quite strict if he did break something or make it messy. It would be very looked down upon. So it's almost like an adult's room with some child toys. So yeah, and he does get the puppet house. I never give people the puppet house. It's so big. Where am I going to use that? But yeah, I do give it to Draco because, of course, this kid would have a puppet house. My God. And he does get the dressing room and he does get the bathroom, and it's, you know, all very same. But I'm glad he's not like hidden away in just one bedroom. He does have the suite effect, and it's meant to be like the heir's suite. So it's got the desk. This is meant to be, you know, this is the master that's coming next. He's not quite the master yet, but he's the heir to the Malfoys. So he does get the special treatment with his own special area of the house. He's not in with the guest section or anything, but it's really, really cute and I love it. All right, so as we move down and start seeing more of this house, basically the guest quarters take up 2 levels of the building because there's so many people that was meant to go in here and I wanted them all to have adequate space. So as you'll see, what I've done is I extended down the foyer decoration, and it's basically just you can go down and down and down from this one section of the house. So it's just basically a big stairwell, and you can go from the top to the bottom. Well, almost. You can go from Draco's sort of top tier area to almost the very bottom. And then it'll branch off into other areas, but it was important to me that it would always come back to this style of foyer, and then it branches off into subsections of the property. So as you'll see this themed foyer area a few times around the house, and it's all just linked into each other, and it's really beautiful, and I wanted to carry over that style. And then you'll also see I carry on the style of the hallways. Anytime there's a hallway, it's in a very specific style that's carried throughout the build. And it's pretty simple, but it's narrow and it's meant to feel very confining and grand. So we do carry on that theme, and I don't show you every single construction of every single hallway and every single foyer and stairwell because they're all basically the same. You don't need to see them. It's just one after the other after the other. It's all same furniture, same style. So I do go and I focus on a bit more of the rooms a bit more, but you'll come to that. So yeah. And for this second level, it's still above ground, which I thought was really fun. I was really glad we weren't into basement levels just yet. So I do go and I do put down, I think this last floor before basement level comprises of a living room. It goes into the ballroom, the very lowest level, and then we've also, got a little music area, and then you have the stables, some foyers and some hallways, and then you have certain people's guest suites. So we're starting to get into the areas where the other people of this build live. So you've got Bellatrix and her husband in one suite, Rabastan in another, and then you've got Barty, I think, is up here, and then Anton Dolohov is also on this level. And then as you go down, it's Pansy, it's Greg, it's Vincent, who are the Crab and Goyle, and who else? I think Barty's somewhere. And then Fenrir Greyback actually has he does have a crappy bedroom, actually. He's the werewolf. They're not too concerned. So he gets this little dungeony cell kind of room that's still got some creature comforts. So yeah, as you can see right now, we're going through and we're decorating our second living area. I wanted it to be a little bit more casual than the first living area. So it's bigger, but it's a little bit more lived in. It's a little bit more, you can relax and put your feet up in this area. It's the guest area. It's not the grand public living area. So it's a slight distinction between them. And we're just going through and it's very big and grand. And it's got the ballroom right there. So it's still a little bit public. And it's got 2 fireplaces and everything. It's so beautiful. But yeah, no, it's lovely. Alright, we are coming to the guest suites, and I will warn you, I speed build these guest suites. Like there's I don't focus on one. I basically build them all at the same time. They're very same, but there is slight variation in color tones, some very slight variation in objects, and you can see that they're meant for certain people a little bit, but it's really basic bones, honestly. Like, one is like the other. You could honestly swap out a lot of it, but I did want to make Rod and Bella's suite very much for them. They get a little bit of a grandness, and then just basically moves on from there. But they're all same bathroom, same sort of styles, and they all have living rooms, and they all have fireplaces, somewhere to sit, somewhere to sleep, somewhere to pee, and we just basically go forth with that. But it's all very fancy, and it still looks very established, lived in, very beautiful. Like, no expense was spared for these guest chambers. I feel like these guest chambers were just a little bit more expensive than the ones below them that the kids have. I did also go through, on this next level, I did go through and I put in a bar room and a little playroom for the kids of down there, because they've got their bedrooms, but I wanted there to have, you know, a foosball table and stuff like that. So I do go through and I give them another room like that, but you'll come to that eventually. But basically this is just me going through and going guest room, guest room, guest room, and just speed running it. Alrighty, so we are taking a break from guest rooms at this point because we have moved down another level in the basement. We are officially in the basement, and I wanted to take this opportunity to make the kitchen. I wanted the kitchen to still be central. I didn't want it tucked off into the corner because the elves have a lot of jobs to do. So I wanted the kitchen to be big, old-fashioned. It's not fancy in the slightest. It's old-fashioned. They've never been down here in their lives. So I wanted it to be very medieval, so it's a lot of stonework and everything. It's got some wood tones as well. And I also wanted to make it where Dobby would sleep. So he's got a little antechamber that branches off from the kitchen. So you've got these two chambers on either side. One of them was going to be a pantry, but then I actually make it a bathroom for Dobby. And on the other side, in the other antechamber, I make Dobby's bedroom. Now, Dobby's bedroom is basically a prison cell gate with hay and stains and a little bed and a little stool and maybe some dog treats, and that's about it. Oh no. The poor thing, honestly, but everyone was really excited to see where Dobby would sleep. If you can't tell, my voice is starting to go. I'm so sorry. I've been talking for a little while. But yeah, no, Dobby's room was really, really fun to make. It's really simple. It's really sad. And I didn't want to disappoint anyone, but he definitely is like locked away. And when you think about the connotations of that, Dobby's a kid in The Sims 4. Because, height things had to happen. So Dobby's a child. Oh my god, Dobby's a child. And he's so cursed looking. Like, while I was doing and playtesting this manor, Dobby was like out of his main uniform. So he didn't have his hat on. It was just like a bald child with a really long nose. And he was pink and with the big eyes. And I was like, oh, I can't look at you. I can't look at you. You're cursed. But no, he's fine. He's fine. He's good. He's got his bedroom. But yeah, no, it's super sad. It's super sad. Oh, and I also put in cleaning supplies. I also put in cleaning supplies outside of his bedroom. Like a broom and dustpan and stuff like that, because I'm just like, all right, let's really be cruel about this, okay? If we're going hard. So yeah, I did give him some dog treats and some cleaning supplies in his bedroom. All right, so now we come to the last of the public areas. So as you can see, I've done Crab and Goyle's room. They are sharing a room. They don't get their own rooms. Crab and Goyle and Pansy also don't have parents. There's only so much I could do. I do apologize, but I couldn't work miracles. So they do live at the manor. Their parents are on vacation, okay? Vacation. And they're basically, in terms of households, they're under the care of Anton Dolohov, which is really cruel of me. But I was like, who's going to take care of them? Not Barty. I don't want to put them with the Malfoys. I can't put them with Fenrir. So I have to put them with Anton. I was like, am I going to put them with Bellatrix? No. So, you know what? It was the lesser of a lot of evils in that scenario. So they're with Anton Dolohov, who is a pureblood, who is older and more mature. So yes, he is taking care of Greg, Vincent, and Pansy, who are children who live in this place. Now, this area is the bar. Not my best work, but it's still lived in. You know, it is what it is. I had this really awkwardly shaped stretch of land and room that I just had to sort of fill in, and I'm like, what haven't I done? So I decided, yeah, a bar is what I need. So it's got the fireplace, it's got a sitting area, it's got a Christmas tree. I feel like though, if they were going to put a Christmas tree in Malfoy Manor, it would be in the foyer where they could, you know, have it on display. It's not so much to have good cheer and gather and put presents around. It's more of to say, we are very rich, look at our big tree. So yeah, it's that kind of scenario. But I did want to add in a bar area where the adults could really kick back and actually do some activities and drink and have fun and everything. And then next to it, I do have a little rumpus room for the kiddies. So they have like a puppet area, they have a foosball table, and they have a don't wake the llama thing. So that's sort of their area to have fun and have a little bit of, you know, socialization in. And that's really it for the public spaces. Now, we are moving on to a very important room, which I was very excited to do, though it was so fiddly. It is the throne room for the Dark Lord. Because obviously the Malfoys have one of those at the bottom of their house. So I basically started off with a lot of stonework. I wanted it to be big, grand, really intimidating, honestly. So it is double story, and I do go through and I put in a lot of the Love Struck pack live edit objects kind of things. They have these beautiful arches, which I used in the Ministry of Magic, and those arches are just beautiful. They're my favorite thing in the whole wide world. So what we're doing is it's not a ballroom, it's a throne room, and it's got a long walkway, and I feel you can see Lucius in the background there. But you can, when you enter this throne room, I wanted it to be really intimidating. Like, I wanted things to be leering over you. Like, it's grand. Like, it's something you'd find in like Egypt or something really medieval. Think Game of Thrones throne room. It's intimidation. So it's meant to be grand and expensive, but also a little bit medieval, dark magic kind of thing. Like, stuff goes down here. So it's a very long, intimidating walkway. So once you enter the throne room, you can see all the way across to the end where the throne is. And it's like a really, really, really long walk. And you're absolutely sweating by the end of that walk. Like, you were like, I'm gonna die. So yeah, it's meant to be really scary. So there's a lot of fire effects. Like, I do put down these sort of chalices on pedestals. I do put fire in them. I do make the lighting green toned, so it's all sort of spooky and dark and everything. And then you've got these pillars and the arches that stretch overhead above you. And then you've got, you know, the floor's all broken. It's a little bit, you know, creepy. And then you've got this big statue. It's meant to be, I think, Wizard of Oz kind of thing. Like, it's not meant to represent, you know, it's not meant to be the Dark Lord. He's not tricking anybody, but it's the grandiose of that life and death statue at the end. I think that's meant to be Grim. I think he's holding something. I have not played the gameplay for Life and Death yet because I'm so busy building, but I did like that statue and I wanted to add it in because obviously these are the Death Eaters. Tom Riddle's obsessed with death because he's obsessed with the idea of conquering death or besting death. So we did go that way. And then I wanted there to be, you know, a throne for him, and I wanted that throne to be elevated on some steps. So I do go through and I make a pedestal for him. Not a pedestal, oh god, what is it? A dais? No. I got nothing. It's uppy. It's an uppy bit. you walk upstairs and then you're up there. I got nothing. Anyway, there's a throne room and there's a throne. I really wish I could have given him a bigger throne. There is a throne you get with the Get Famous pack, which I thought was really fun. I sort of wanted to use that, but in practice, you can't actually sit in that throne. You can make it an heirloom for your children, but you can't sit in it. I'm like, oh, that makes the fun out of it. So I did have to go and just put her in a regular armchair, but it's a dark, bigger armchair. So I did what I could without breaking the game. This is me putting in the fire effects and everything and put in a few, fire things and stands and everything. It's looking so fun and cool. And I go through and I pop in, I was really testing it though with that curve of the, I'm going to Google it. How can I think of what it is called? Dais. I can't even Google it because I don't know what it's called. Oh man, look, I'm being unprofessional at this point. Dices? It starts with D. I know it does. I got nothing for you. But I had Lucius. Okay, so I had Lucius go in and play test it. Really cool. And so then we've got this rug that I sized up, which I thought was such a cool idea. And it goes up the steps. You can never get a rug that goes up steps. So I'm really glad about what I did here because it adds in, that little bit of custom sort of thing. So there is a very nice big rug that stretches from one side of the room to the other and ends at the throne. And all right, I'm going to admit it. I spent 5 minutes Googling it. It is a dais. So I had to get the pronunciation out. I was correct. It's a dais? I'm Australian. We don't know. Okay, so a dais. I think, you know how you read something and then you never have to pronounce it out loud, so you think it's different in your head. I was looking at D-A-I-S. Is that it? I was thinking all these, D-A-I-S. I've never said that word out loud. I have this problem actually all the time when I'm recording these videos. You'll see it a few times. It's like when I couldn't pronounce Bellatrix's husband's name, which is Rodolphus. No, it's not. I'm a lost cause. Anywho, we are moving on to the throne room and we are doing the suits of armor. I almost regret doing the suits of armor this big because it sort of tricks the eye into thinking the room is smaller. You think regular Sims are that tall. They're not that tall. They're the size of Lucius. So you sort of trick the eye into thinking it's less grand than it is. So I might go in and I might size them down sometime. But yeah, no, they sort of cottoned on and finished off the room in a way I was really happy with. But I love this ballroom. No, not a throne room. Oh my God. I'm really tired. I've been talking a while. And to finish it off, I popped in these blue glowy things that I discovered in the Realm of Magic pack. They're so fun. I love them. I love any special effects things that the Sims can give us. If they could please and thank you give us a customizable fire effect, a steam effect, a fog effect, something, and more lighting effects like this, that would be really fun because right now I have to use like chimneys and lanterns and stuff to get like effects like that, and I really don't want to. So if they could please give us stuff that's just like that and also more waterfall effects, that would be really great. Thank you. Alrighty folks, we are coming to the very end of this Malfoy Manor build. We're finishing it off with the dungeons. I almost didn't do it. I almost didn't make these, and then I was thinking to myself, you have to, because they're literally in canon. They have a dungeon. And then I was like, oh, fine. And by this point, I was creatively crawling because I'd been working on Malfoy Manor for like 35 or something hours of my life and I was dying. So I was like, all right, fine. I took 10 minutes to make a little dungeons, and it's like the most basic dungeons you've ever seen in your whole life. I'm so sorry. But yeah, no, it turned out really sweet and fun and everything. And it's just the one dungeon, and you can fit someone in there. It's got a toilet, it's got a stool, it's got some hay, and that's basically it. But we're at the end of it now. Hallelujah! My voice is gone. I'm so happy it's over. Yes! I can move on to Shell Cottage. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you enjoyed Malfoy Manor. Did you like it? It's an experience. It's grand. It's so ugly, and I think it's just perfect for the Malfoys. I really hope you like it, they like it. But if you liked it, and if you've made it literally 2 hours and 13 minutes into this video, please feel like giving a like and subscribe if you care to. And if you want to see more of my stuff, there is always more. But thank you so much for coming along. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Okay, bye-bye.